circumstances. But David Stern meant so much to so many people. I'd love for you to share just a little bit about your relationship with him.
Oh, wow. I go back, I used to work in Milwaukee in the 80s when David Stern took over. And so I sort of go back to at least the start of his commissionership. And, even a little bit before that, I worked in Minnesota. They were trying to get an expansion team. They finally got one. That was a major accomplishment for the commissioner. I know, the addition of so many teams during his tenure was a real source of pride, and he took great pleasure when those teams actually excelled. Minnesota had some hiccups in there. They nearly lost the franchise. And so a lot of communication, conversation with David Stern about that as well. So, I've sort of been around, fly on the wall kind of a thing for his whole run. And I was a little surprised at how much, his passing affected me. We keep things at arm's length if we're doing our jobs properly. And yet, great admiration for a guy who was tough as nails. And he really did, in my opinion, look out for this league like a tough love parent.
Very well said. And I think you're exactly right. I'm sure that emotions were running high. We showed a tweet from Mark Spears where he spoke about an emotional Magic Johnson. Was there a high point, emotionally speaking, for you where maybe you had to gather yourself? Was there a surprise moment when a speaker said something that really hit home?
Well, Magic's reflections up on the stage at Radio City Music Hall, to me, were particularly poignant, and I write about this for my piece on NBA.com, that just as we were all there, sort of restoring some order to what's gone on, over the last 2 months regarding David Stern, the idea that Magic Johnson was eulogizing David Stern, in essence, made sense and really kind of fixed things from what we all worried about 29 years ago. And that, Magic talked about that and how helpful David Stern was to him during that horrible time of the HIV news. And, most people thought that it would be Magic who would be gone first. And the fact that the chronology played out, Magic Johnson is 60 years old, and he is saying goodbye to his friend who was 77. That makes a lot more sense. And I think a lot of us walked out of that building today feeling that, okay, we get this now. Closure's a cliche, but I have to say this feels better than it felt on January 1st or 2nd or the days since then.
Absolutely. Time will heal things as we move on, of course. I spoke with a couple of people who were there, and they said that it had the feel of an NBA family reunion. I know you mentioned closure. A memorial service is never a fun moment to get together, but oftentimes it can become a celebration of life. So I would love to hear your thoughts on how that felt when all of those former players, executives, team personnel, Val Ackerman was there, I heard, from the WNBA days. What did that feel like being in that room?
Well, it was very special. And while, NBA fans would look at that and look at the who's who of people that were there, whether Hall of Fame legends, current players, coaches, general managers, executives, anybody. It really was a cross-section of the league. I think that they all enjoyed being there. And as you said, the word family, there is a sense. And this used to be a real mom-and-pop kind of a league in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And now it's become a global juggernaut. And yet the people that have helped make it that, do feel a closeness. Everybody really does know everybody. And I think that sense of sharing this and learning some things about David that, in the wake of his passing, everybody talked about, his tough approach to business and a negotiator and the way he dealt with players or coaches who fell out of favor. And, a little bit you got about the twinkle in his eye while he did it. But we really got personality and background today. And to me, it was very interesting, and it just all sort of put things in order.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your perspective and your insight, sharing with us what that memorial service felt like on the inside. Steve Ashburner.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Well, as we mentioned, it's never a fun day when you are memorializing someone. But someone like David Stern, who meant so much to so many people, His two sons were the last to speak there, so I'm imagining that that was very emotional to listen to. We all have our David Stern stories.
Right.
I probably wouldn't be sitting in this chair right now if it weren't for David Stern. He had the courage to appoint me as an assistant coach when the D-League was first starting. I was the very first female to coach professional sports. He had faith in me to do it, and he had chats with me before the season started to make sure that we were all on the same page and that I was prepared and ready for it. And from that, everything took off for me. So I owe everything to David Stern.
And just him just being open-minded enough to say, hey, kick down that barrier, because like you said, they weren't allowing women to coach or have those type of opportunities, and what it led to for your career. And he was big in that aspect, whether it was starting up the WNBA, really trying to make sure female reporters got their fair share in this business in the NBA back in the day. People like Jackie McMullen talked about David Stern opening doors for her to be able to go in locker rooms and get these interviews. And David Stern, he meant a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but the biggest thing you can say about him is he had a vision for more than just where basketball was at the moment when he took over the game. When he was the commissioner, he saw basketball being more than that. Hey, we got to include everybody. We have to include females. We have to make sure that our African-American players are marketed differently than a lot of other sports. We have to tell their stories. Guys like Magic and Michael, those guys really carried the league in the 80s. So David Stern did a great job with how he marketed this league, and then taking it global, that's another aspect of it as well.
Yes.
So his stamp will forever be on the NBA, and that'll be my legacy for David Stern, is that all the different aspects that he brought to this league.
It's unbelievable. And Yao Ming was present. Current Commissioner Adam Silver said he traveled the furthest distance and was a surprise guest today. So it's not just about NBA basketball, it's the world that David Stern affected. Zion Williamson expected to make his debut tomorrow for the Pelicans. Can't wait.
Brought to you by Ford. Built Ford proud.
Our goal is freedom. I believe we will win it right here in Atlanta. Atlanta must not fool herself any longer. We must be willing to suffer when necessary, go to jail when necessary, and even risk our lives to become witnesses to the truth as we see it.
My father loved the city of Atlanta, of course, because this is where he was born. He grew up here, he was educated here. He wanted to make sure that he lived in the community where the people were.
He was a product of the Atlanta streets.
Well, tried to be good, wanted nothing but to love somebody.
There are a lot of memories on the West 100th Street. Pascal's Motor Hotel, a very historic gathering place for members of the Civil Rights Movement.
Most of the meetings of the Civil Rights Movement were held in its ballroom. The center of 100th Street was the Atlanta University complex. Atlanta University Center was the intellectual center of Black America.
1966. It was along Hunter Street, King led one of his last protests in his home city of Atlanta, demanding that Julian Bond be seated in the Georgia state legislature. To that point, he had been denied access to his rightful seat.
He was dismissed because he opposed the war in Vietnam.
We are going to see that day right here in Atlanta, Georgia, when Julian Bond will be back in that state legislature.
Sad news for all of our fellow citizens and people who love peace all over the world. And that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
In the wake of King's assassination, Atlanta, and particularly Hunter Street, became a central gathering place for the world, watching the funeral procession.
I didn't know what to expect. I was trying to get my friend and brother comfortably in the ground. We expected it to be a crowd, but we didn't expect all of America to show up.
There's a whole lot of people gathered on that day.
The street was literally solid people as far as you could see to downtown Atlanta. Later, I was surprised that they really underplayed the number of people that were there. When you watch the news reports, it usually referred to tens of thousands. And I'm sure there were several 100,000 because you couldn't fill that much space solid without having that many.
The first city that we know of that named a street for Dr. King was Chicago, just months after King's assassination in 1968. When you think about Atlanta and you consider the fact that it took at least 8 years, one wonders why it did take so long.
I was a little embarrassed that it took us as long as we did.
Wyche Fowler was on the Atlanta City Council during much of the debate over naming a street for Dr. King.
I thought it was a wonderful idea and high time that we honored our own.
Martin Luther King Street in Atlanta was formed from 3 older existing streets. The initial proposal and the activism behind it was directed by Mr. Morris Finley, a city councilman at the time.
On this side of the community, we got generals that's being honored.
Gordon Drive, named after John B. Gordon, a Confederate general.
On that side of the community, we got generals being honored.
Mosley Drive was named for Hiram Mosley, a Confederate doctor turned businessman, and Hunter Street, named for Alston Hunter Green, a prominent planter and slave owner.
I want to honor black folks. And I sat down and I started looking at all the people who were my heroes and sheroes. The leader was Dr. King.
Even though some people may think that naming a street is a pretty easy task or a relatively simple matter, street naming was an act of activism. It was an act of going out and generating public support and dealing with public opposition. And in fact, Mr. Finley exactly found that. He actually tried to get multiple streets named for Dr. King and ran into opposition and struggle.
What I wanted to do is build the entire box that we was in. I ran into problems.
There was a general anxiety within the city of Atlanta, personal and political rivalries going on within and between the white and black communities within Atlanta about exactly how much they wanted to identify with King and exactly where best to remember him within the city.
I'm sure there were some that did not want to have their businesses on a street named after a prominent black man.
I chose a street I feel would be no opposition. Hunter Street. Here we go again with another one of the generals.
Martin's movement was, from the very beginning, to redeem the soul of America from the triple evils of racism, war, and poverty. Old Hunter Street, going right straight through the black community, was a pathway through poverty.
It may seem strange for me to say this, but I don't think that it was primarily a racial matter.
My greatest opposition were black folks.
The people who live and work and have their businesses on streets don't like change.
Everybody wants to protect their own. So now I go to explain, hey, do you know this guy right here killed all these people who fought in the Civil War? Didn't make no difference. That means you got to change my stationery.
They don't like to have to tell everybody that they have a new address.
If you really want something, you know how to eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
When the street was named, I thought it was very significant that it was a street that went into the downtown community. During my father's life, he could not go into that downtown area.
Once it happened, it's impossible not to have a little ego trip whenever you go under that sign.
It was speaking about a new way of looking at Atlanta's history.
I, too, had a dream. And I got mine in black and white.
This is a man who, when he was assassinated, he was one of the most hated men in America. Now, he's one of the most loved men in the world. And that's evident by so many things. The streets that are named after him, it just happens to be one of those many ways.
I take the naming of the streets of the nation after Martin Luther King as a promise. If we think putting up a sign on a street is paying tribute to this man who gave his life for this nation, street's not worth a damn.
Martin Luther King Jr. Drive is depressed. What we invested in as older people did not turn around and reinvest in us. And so you see neglected streets.
The streets in almost every city go through poor neighborhoods.
When a lot of cities did begin to name their streets for Martin Luther King, I think it was Chris Rock.
His routine was, if somebody calls you and says,
I'm lost, I'm on Martin Luther King. Run! Run! It ain't the safest place to be.
Dr. King didn't dream of a city that was in disrepair. So what we have envisioned in Atlanta is an ML King Drive that is befitting of Dr. King's legacy.
We really need the people that we invested in to come back and invest in us and our neighborhood. It should be a source of pride for everybody.
It's a reminder that we still have a lot of work to do.
We need to invest a lot in transforming these communities so that they truly live up to the icon.
If we take it as a promise that we should turn Martin Luther King's streets throughout our nation into avenues of hope and promise for the least of these God's children, whatever color they may be, nothing could make Martin Luther King more proud.
it's about repairing a community or repairing inequality. There is no other street like it.
We're all excited to see what he does, and we've heard from his peer group. We've heard from lots of people as it relates to Zion Williamson. Now let's hear from Zion himself. This is from earlier today after practice.
It's been great, man. The city's beautiful. The people are beautiful as well. They welcome me. I feel like they adopted me a bit. They show love everywhere I go, and they just tell me that they can't wait for me to get back out there.
Now, thinking back to your first game at Duke, how does this kind of compare to that?
I don't know. I think it might be a little different magnitude to this one. It's my first NBA game. This is business now. It's different.
Do you think there'll be a learning curve of some kind? How do you expect teammates to adjust to you, you to adjust to them?
I think there will be a learning curve, but I don't think it'll be nothing dramatic. I think it'll be something where, I think we're pros. I think we'll just adapt maybe after a game or two.
How good do you think you can be right off the bat?
Man, do I even get to determine that, to be honest? My plan, to be honest, is to go out there and just contribute where Coach needs me.
Zion, what specific ways do you think your body is better now prepared to handle the stress?
Flexibility, I've been working on my landing a lot. I think those two things will help me a lot.
Mentally, I'm sure this has been really exhausting and trying, especially because you're having to wait so long to play your first NBA game. What is kind of the voice been to you from people in the front office and on the team?
That they're with me. That through all the hard stuff, they're going to be with me. And I think my mom as well. She always looks at me and go, nobody told you this is going to be easy. So it's a part of the journey. I embrace it, and I get to play.
When you say working on your landing, what does that mean? How do you, land now? What would change?
I think it's just not landing straight legs, just kind of don't let all my forces go into my legs. It's a lot of technical stuff. I really couldn't explain it to you, to be honest. I could probably show you on video better. But I did learn a lot about my body in this time period, and I came a lot from watching film and where to use my energy and, try to make smarter reads and not exhaust so much energy.
How much pressure are you putting on yourself? Obviously you dreamed of this day your whole life, going back to being a little kid, so is there any pressure you're putting on yourself just to live up to everything you imagined it would be?
Not really putting no pressure on it at all. I love to play basketball, so I'm just looking to go out there, have fun, and compete.
Don, did all your friends and family ask for tickets to the game? And do you plan on them coming?
I would hope so. They are my friends and family. I think the rehab workouts, they're long and strenuous. It was a lot of times when I just wanted to punch a wall or kick chairs because it's frustrating to not be able to move your body the way you want to, not to make any athletic movements. It's tough, especially since I'm 19 and having to play my first NBA game. So it was tough, but I battled through it.
Is there any part of you from being able to watch from the sideline and stuff that you can apply even on your first night?
I think it was just attention to detail on defense. You can always look at a scouting report, but I think it's just a matter of the feel of the game and who you're guarding.
Is there a part of this process where now that you're able to kind of look back a little bit, you feel like catching an injury like this at the time, as far as the longevity of your career is concerned, it could be a blessing in disguise at all?
That's exactly what my mom said. She just said it was, time to focus on my body, focus on any small mechanics that need to be fixed.
Do you think all this work that you've done will help you avoid any kind of chronic knee problems? Are you concerned about that at all? Or do you feel confident that this has helped you kind of alleviate that before it might even happen?
I think it does help with, future injuries. And it's something I got to continue to, have a less chance of getting hurt. Talk with the training staff about it. It's just consistency and sticking with the program.
A lot to unpack there,
Yeah,
and I have so many questions to ask you as it relates.
fire away, man. It's just
to
us.
David. I know, right? Let's talk about injuries. He said that it's frustrating sitting out for so long, and I know that you had a pretty serious injury that kept you out for a while. What was that like?
Yeah, I had an injury when I was in D.C. I had a wrist injury, kept me out, I want to say, around 50 to 60 games.
That's a lot.
And then when I was in Charlotte, I broke my foot one year and missed an entire season. So I understand exactly what Zion's going through. When you're in the recovery process or the rehab process, it's lonely. You feel isolated at times. Even though you're around your teammates, you're still not with them. You're not out there practicing. You're not going through the drills with them. When practice starts, you go off on the side and you got to do your own thing, and you're not getting a chance to play basketball. You're doing stability exercises and all types of rehab with all types of bands and all that type of work. And it can be a very lonely process when you're rehabbing, especially if there's not another injured player there with you. It can be very lonely. They got you running in the pool and doing all these type of things, and it's a different type of workout for an athlete, because most NBA players, we just love to hoop. That's all we want to go out there and hoop. We want to play basketball. We want to work on our craft. And part of the thing that really sucks about being hurt is you can't work on your game as much as you want to, and you can't play ball. I'm sure this kid is missing the game of basketball, and he can't wait to get out there and put on an excellent performance for us tomorrow.
And it is, after all, a team sport. It's not like you're tennis players or
Right.
track runners. You're used to being with your teammates. Okay, you heard him talk about changing some things, maybe his running style, his gait, since he's been out. Have you ever heard of anything like that happening before?
Yeah, I actually have heard that with two guys that were bigger bodies also. Miles Turner, when he was coming out of Texas, they were talking about his running style and maybe he needed to change it. There were some concerns about how he would make it in the NBA because they thought he had a weird gait.
Turned out
and,
pretty good.
Yeah, and also Roy Hibbert. When Roy Hibbert was coming out of Georgetown, actually before he came out, they were definitely making sure that they wanted to change how he ran. When he first got to Georgetown, they made sure they changed a lot. Being from that area where I played in D.C., Roy being from the DMV, I played against him when he was coming out of high school playing in summer leagues and stuff. So they definitely did a lot to change the way he got up and down the court.
All right, so now Zion Williamson, we're expecting him to return tomorrow. What are your expectations for him?
I think he's going to have a very good game. I think that, of course, he's not going to come out there and play 30 minutes. I think he's going to have some highlight dunks. That's just what he does. You've seen all the YouTube clips. I don't think he's going to have a lot of pressure on him because this isn't like he's coming out there for a team that doesn't have anything. You have Brandon Ingram, who might be the most improved player in the league this year. You have Drew Holiday, one of the most underrated players in the league. And you have a veteran like J.J. Redick that provides floor spacing. So there's a lot of good options out there. Zion's not going to have to do everything on his own. I think he's going to come out there and have a big-time effect on this game and have some highlight plays off the jump.
Cannot wait. And, of course, they're well coached by Alvin Gentry. So stay tuned for tomorrow night's action. You don't want to miss that. Now, from one big to another, Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big body.
Blue chips.
He's got a lot of things going on here in the studios. One of them is story time with Shaq. So stay tuned. It's coming up next.
Crowd.
You don't hear that?
What's that?
Word.
Yeah.
Word.
What? I
You
don't
don't
hear.
hear that alarm?
Nah.
Get off my land. You passing that? Don't.
What you? Wait.
Nah,
You just. I thought the line was right here.
There you go.
You like that better?
I love that.
Mad cameras on the set. Got this one. Got that one. Ro Parrish on the set. Never come in wax on. See, me and Big, we brothers like the doobies. It's story time with Shaq. We talking about the movies. Blue chips, we gotta start there. Give me your first impressions of Penny Hardaway and the best interaction story that took place between you two on that set.
I didn't know who Penny Hardaway was. Because once I made it to that level, forget who's behind me. I'm focusing on who's in front of me. So we're playing in Orlando, because we all used to play pickup, and this is skinny kid. They put him on my team, and I swear if I put my hand up like this, the ball is there. So I'm like, okay, he nice. He must be, must be one of the kids from the neighborhood. Every time he was coming down looking for me. He wasn't even looking for a shot. He was looking for me. So I tell him, hey, man, I'm going to spin, throw the lob. And everything I did, he did it perfectly. So then finally, on the way out, they said, that's Penny Hardaway. They brought him down here because he's going to be in the movie with you. And I can remember D. Scott telling me, you're not a rookie no more. In order for us to get to that next level, you might have to start some trouble with upstairs. You got to be the bad guy. Because I'm a respectable guy. Whatever you say we need to do, I'll do it. Even if I know in my mind that's not what it's going to get to take us to that next level. I go upstairs and say, I've been reading the reports. We got the #1 pick. I like C-Web. He my guy. However, I just met this kid, Penny Hardaway. I know you know him. I'm thinking the next Magic Johnson and Kareem. Do something. They didn't take me seriously. So then I had to step it up. I didn't go upstairs and say it, but I spread the word. We don't get Penny, my deal's up next year. I'm going to be looking to do something else. So then they said, we'll do it. We don't want you to, we'll do it. So I'm having a draft party at my house. They draft Chris Webber.
With the first pick in the 1993 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic select Chris Webber from the University of Michigan.
I just got this new 50-inch from Best Buy. I bust that all up. Because now I'm mad, because I'm like, I told y'all what I want, and now y'all gonna force my hand. I go to the bathroom to clean up. My boys run, hey man, they did something. They traded C-Web for Penny Hardaway.
Orlando has traded the draft rights to Chris Webber to Golden State in exchange for the draft rights to Anthony Hardaway.
So I knew that was going to be the beginning of the new Magic Johnson and Kareem.
Would you ever consider doing a blue chip sequel?
If they asked me to, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Who would you like to have? Is Penny coming back?
I would say me and Penny come back. We'll be agents fighting against each other. I'll give all the young guys a shot. I'll get Kyle Kuzma in there. I'll get Kelly Oubre in there. I'll put Zion Williamson in there. And I'll put Candace Parker in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
The whole movie thing, I'm that kid that wasn't talented at all, but I'm that kid that always had high hopes. I was the kid that used to be like, man, I want to be an NBA player. Man, I want to do a movie. Man, I want to be a rapper. When you get a chance to take advantage of opportunity, you take it. I had no acting skills. I did a couple commercials. So the guy comes to me in LA and said, hey, we want you to be in this movie, Blue Chips. I'm not turning that down. Guy comes and said, hey, we want you to be a genie in a bottle. I'm not turning that down. Adam Sandler said, we want you to be in a comedy. I'm not turning that down. I got 17 movies. A lot of people say it's not really 17 movies because in 14 of them you play Shaq. But I say, nope, kiss my ass.
You mentioned that genie in a bottle.
Kazam is the worst, best movie ever. I always do this trick with the kids. Like, look, babies, you want to see some magic? Right? And the kids, oh my God, it's gone.
That was pretty funny and very entertaining.
Oh man,
As is
informative too.
This young man,
Who
Luka
knew?
Doncic. We have our fantasy forecast coming up. Luka Doncic could be very valuable in that regard. J.R. Jackson will be right back. Brought to you by Ford. Look what we've got. J.R. Jackson is in the studio. That means only one thing. It's time for the fantasy forecast. And you might think there's only one game. How hard could this be? Aha! That's why you got to pay attention to our expert. JR is going to school us. Why don't you start things off with your starting lineup and explain the difference between a one-game night and a regular night?
Well, with a one-game night, you're picking a starting lineup of 5. And basically what happens is the values double. So if you look at the prices here, somebody like Luka Doncic generally may be in that $12,000, $10,000 range. But you start off picking an MVP, an all-star, and then a pro. And then you have 2 utility players. And so tonight, Luka is worth double the value. Kawhi Leonard is 1.5. And then Lou Williams, who I think is going to have a big night, I'm going to break it down for you in a second, he's 1.2. So basically, even though you only have 5 players versus 9, everybody, for the most part, is worth double.
My goodness. All right, so dive into Lou Williams. What's the breakdown on him?
Well, Lou Williams, obviously, I have him on the team tonight as my pro because with Paul George out with that hamstring injury, I'm still looking for him to go off. He had 32 points the other night, Saturday actually, against the Pelicans. And I don't know how quiet you could have a 20-6, but that's what he's been doing this season. He's basically getting ready to tie a career high. Right now, he's shooting 38% from three-point land. Lou Williams is going to get the minutes, and whether people recognize it or not, he's a good fantasy option, especially tonight with no Paul George again.
Love it. All right, also, you've got Landry Shamet, so what's special about him?
Well, that also ties into Paul George being out. The past several games, he's been out there averaging about 12 to also 13 points per game. He's knocking down about 2 3-pointers per game. Landry is a solid option. Whenever Paul George does come back, he's going to take a knock. But for tonight, he's somebody that I wanted to add as kind of my utility guy.
All right, excellent. I love the insight. It's time for you at home now to lock in your daily predictions. NBA Pick'em Primetime Picks is the free-to-play game that lets you predict daily NBA games and compete against your friends. Our fantasy expert, J.R. Jackson, is going to lock in his own picks on Clippers versus Mavs game right here on NBA TV Center Court tonight. And here we go, J.R. Which player will grab more rebounds, Montrezl Harrell or Kristaps Porzingis?
Well, we know there's a lot of uncertainty about Kristaps Porzingis tonight, so I got to go to Montrez. Throughout the season, Kristaps is grabbing about 9 rebounds per game. Montrez is sitting about at 7. He only grabbed 2 the other night, but there's just so much uncertainty about Kristaps. I'm going to hedge towards Montrez.
All right, and which player will make more threes, Maxi Kleber or Shamet?
That's a tough question because they both knock down about 2 per game. Maxi is shooting 40% from three-point land. Landry is in the high 30s, but I got to go with Landry tonight, strictly because of the minutes and strictly because there's more certainty that he's going to get those shots with Paul George. And like I said, Maxi, his minutes a lot can really depend on Kristaps Porzingis. I'm going to go with Landry. He's another safe bet for tonight.
Here's a tough one. Both of them are top 10 in their category. Which player will score more points, Luka Doncic or Kawhi Leonard?
I wouldn't call it too tough. I mean, right now, Kawhi's on a streak right now where the past 5 games, he's scored more than 30. He scored more than 40 one particular time. And I know Luka is capable of going off any night. He had 35 points in the last game. But I'm going to go with Kawhi Leonard to go for a 6th straight game with more than 30 points. I got Kawhi Leonard scoring more tonight versus Luka Doncic.
All right, perfect. Well done. We appreciate you.
No
Thank you,
doubt.
J.R. Jackson.
You're very welcome, Stephanie.
Fantasy Forecast. Hope you guys are paying attention. J.R. made his picks. Don't forget to lock in your own at nba.com/primetime picks for your chance to win. The warm-up will continue. We're going to talk a lot about this game. It's the only game of the night in the NBA, and Kristaps Porzingis is supposed to be back after missing 10. And also, our teammate is in the studio. And what a show it has been. This is a look at his numbers the last 10 games. The reason why we chose 10 is because those are the games that Kristaps Porzingis has been out. You can see his points right there. Field goal percentage just under 45%, but just over 10 rebounds and 8.9 assists. Very productive Luka Doncic has been. And in fact, we're going to hear from Doc Rivers, who is the head coach of the opponent tonight for the Mavs. This is just after shoot-around.
You don't stop him. I mean, you try to make him beat you in your way, you know. And if he can do that, then he can do that. But you just can't allow him to just be what he wants to be or play the way he wants to play. And it's hard to even do that. Great players are great players for a reason. And the reason is everyone's tried everything and it doesn't work, you know. So we just try to make it hard on him, as hard as we can. You know, he struggled in the first game against us, but he got great shots when you looked at it. He just didn't make some of the shots. So we know we have to be better defensively against them than we were the first time we played them, that's for sure.
And as promised, the third member of our crew, Gary Payton, has joined us.
I'm sorry that I left you with him by
I know
yourself.
it.
I'm here now.
I'm just trying to figure out how you got here through 5 o'clock traffic in Atlanta. You got a helicopter or something, man?
Hey, look here, man. I'm
special.
good. I'm special, man.
Hey,
Police escort right here,
for
man.
real?
Yeah, come on, man.
He's Gary Payton.
I forgot you. I forgot
That's
you
the
big time.
glove.
I forgot you big time, man.
So Gary Payton was at David Stern's memorial service earlier today in New York City. He joined us here, so of course we're going to ask him about that a little bit later on. But for now, we have a guest. Dennis Scott is joining us live from Dallas. He will be working the game tonight, and as you might recognize, it's Velvet Tuesdays.
Velvet.
it.
Prince Velvet.
Okay. Oh, you and 3D got the velvet on today, Steph.
Yes.
That's right, baby.
He's inspiring.
It's Tuesday.
All right, so Dennis, we talked a lot about Porzingis, expected to come back tonight. Do you have anything to further update the situation or any observations that you've seen?
Well, right now it's still a game time decision, but everyone around the Mavericks thinks he will play. He's been out all the games you've talked about, Steph. And they're just waiting for him to get that confidence back in his legs and find his way. Because so much talk about Luka, rightfully so, and how good the team is playing. But if this team really wants to go deep in the playoffs, they have to find a way to get Porzingis healthy, happy, and understanding where he fits in this offense. Because as Luka continues to attack the defense and set things up, in the fourth quarter, you may need someone else to go to make some shots for you or get double teamed, and Porzingis can do that.
3D, with the Clippers now, with Kawhi playing the way he's playing, this is better for me than this load management stuff. This team is a better team when he's on the floor. Even with Paul George out, what does he give this team and give the confidence to them so they can continue to win and get on that roll that they need to get on?
He gives them belief. When he's on the floor, they believe any given night they can go out and win any ball game against any team. They know defensively when he and Patrick Beverley and the rest of those guys are on the same page, they can stop anyone. And, of course, in the fourth quarter, you give the ball to Kawhi. He does make good decisions. You know he can knock down the three. And he's not afraid to go in and get the mid-range game going because he knows that's where he can get fouled and get to the free throw line. So at the end of the day, the Clippers understand when Kawhi's on the floor, good things happen. No Paul George tonight. The hamstring, he's still nursing. But when he comes back, we know Paul George is one of those type of guys. He'll fit right on in and won't miss a beat. But to your point, when Kawhi's on the floor, things normally go well.
3D, going back to the Dallas Mavericks, I got a couple questions about Porzingis. First of all, is he going to be on any type of minutes restriction tonight? How is that going to go? And also, are the Dallas Mavericks going to look to try to get him off to a quick and fast start by maybe calling a couple of plays for him? I know Rick Carlisle said he didn't particularly love the post-ups, but I think that's something they might have to add in. Porzingis is 7'2". Can't have him just camping out behind the three-point line.
Well, I'm going to go with the latter part first. The reason he doesn't post up a lot, guys, because that base of his foundation of his legs aren't strong enough yet. So when you go back and watch the video of the games he played this season, every time he's tried to post out, guys have pushed him off the block, and he ends up at the three-point line. So Rick Carlisle and the coaching staff is trying to figure out ways, to your point, B. Wood, is how do we get him some pick and pops or some pick and rolls to the basket to get his rhythm back. In the first part of your question, no minute restriction. It's all about how he plays and how he's running and how he looks is how Rick Carlisle will play him tonight.
All right, 3D, before we let you go, I got to ask you about Luka Doncic, the boy wonder. Has he said anything or alluded to the fact that when Kristaps does come back, does he want to do more to kind of keep him engaged in that offense?
No question about it. The leadership of Luka is off the charts. He understands that he needs Porzingis to go deep or to play well or to keep teams honest and nervous that is this Dallas team for real. So more importantly, he understands when he comes back, they have to feed off one another along with keeping everyone else engaged. And I think that's the beauty about Luka Doncic. He wants to make sure everyone eats. There's no way you get a triple-double if you're not unselfish and also knowing the fourth quarter the ball's going to be in your hands.
Love that. And in fact, leads the league in triple doubles with 12 already. It's unbelievable. Thank you, Dennis Scott. We appreciate it. We know you're busy today. Have a good one tonight.
Hey, I see you, Velvet Girl. I see you, Velvet Girl.
Velvet Jones.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, 3D.
All right, guys.
Always inspiring. I love Dennis. He brings it too. He always knows what's happening when he's in location. And he shared with us Luka Doncic, an extraordinary leader. He's a sophomore in terms of his years in the league. And it seems like his wisdom is just off the charts. We know he can perform, but it's how he does it. What impresses you the most?
What impressed me is he's so poised, like you said. I think it's because he started so early overseas where he was from, where he played that mature basketball. He learns how to play. That's why a lot of teams over here in the NBA want to draft a lot of overseas guys because they know how to play the game. They know how to play a pick and roll. They know the right decision on the play. They know that they can get that from them right away when they come over to play in the NBA. And I think that with him, he's not a sophomore. He already knows how, and this game fits his game. It's an up and down game. It's a one-on-one game, and he knows no one can guard him one-on-one because he's so strong, he's so big, he can get to the basket, and he can shoot the three. That's what's so good about it, and you don't usually see him struggle. He might struggle one game, and then he's going to give you 10 good ones.
Right.
And that's a good thing about this kid is because when he struggles, he comes right back and gives you 7, 8, 9 good games in a row, and they go on a roll.
I pretty much have to piggyback off of what GP is talking about. The poise combined with the skill set is what really separates Luka from me and why I really am impressed with this game. No matter what you throw at him, it seems like he's ready for it. If you try to pressure into him with smaller guards, he said, that's okay. I'll put my back to him, walk him down, get to his scoring yard in a low block, and just shoot right over him. You put a bigger player on him, he exploits him in the pick and roll game or one-on-one off the dribble. He understands how to play angles, changing speeds, directions. He's not the fastest, not the quickest. Honestly, he's probably a below NBA level athlete as far as like, he doesn't match up with some of these guys that fly above the rim, but he doesn't need to, because he knows how to use their athleticism against him. Oh, you want to get into me real quick? I'll drive hard left, change directions, get right into a step back. So he understands angles, speed, pace, and he uses all of that to basically go out there and highlight his skill set.
And he reminds me of a bigger John Stockton, who the same thing. He does the same. He knows angles. He wasn't as athletic as us, but he was smart. And he was real smart where he always got us in foul trouble. He knew what to do. He knew the right time to pick what pass he's going to do, how athletic he was. He took the right shots. He did all of that. And then he knew when to double off somebody. And this what this kid reminds me of a bigger John Stockton who can handle the basketball. I think he shoots a little bit better than John Stockton. And, you know, he sees the floor, and that's why he's so good.
Well, according to the Mavs website, reporter Dwayne Price is reporting that Rick Carlisle is saying Porzingis will definitely play tonight, but unsure of a minute restriction. So that's the latest news in terms of Porzingis. I bring that up because I'm curious what you all think. How will that affect Doncic's play? We know that he is a stellar teammate, that obviously he knows how to get assists, but when you have another star coming back into the lineup, if you're trying to play long-term victories, what does Doncic have to do to get Kristaps back in order?
Nothing. Be yourself. Keep playing the way he's playing. He's not been there for 10 games. Keep playing that. Let Porzingis come in and get with our program. Let him go. I'm going to feed him a little bit. I'm going to see what he looks like. How good is he? Is he ready yet? And just gradually bring him in. I like it. They should do what they're doing, what Utah is doing with Conley right now. But bring him off the bench, bring him in slowly, bring you into this process. We won 16 games out of 18 without you. So now, come on, you do the same thing. And I think this kid knows that. He's going to try to get him off, but he's not going to overpress it. I think he's going to just play his game, get him the touches that he need to get, see how he can work into what we're doing right now, and don't mess up anything. You don't need to mess up anything. Just keep playing basketball. And I think Carlisle knows that too.
Yeah, I don't think Luka has to do anything different as far as getting Porzingis involved, just because Luka's game is about taking what's there. If the defense plays him one-on-one, he's going to score. If they send a double team or if they try to trap him off the pick and roll, he's going to kick the ball ahead to a teammate, and that's where he'll have Porzingis spotted up behind the three-point line, and he can get busy right there. I think so. Some of that Porzingis is going to have to get find ways to get his own shot within the offense and find his own way to fit in. But I don't think Luka's going to have to do much differently, just because he's just such a well-rounded basketball player. It's all about what the defense gives him. He's always going to make the right play.
And plus, we got to see what shape he in.
True.
He's not in basketball shape. I know Carlisle will start subbing him. That's why I like to don't say a minute restriction, because if he's going, let him go. If he doesn't, bring him out.
Right.
You know he's tired. He hasn't played in 10 games. You know he's not in really, really good game shape. So just bring him along. I mean, in like about 4 or 5 games, he'll start really now becoming himself. And then you can see if we're going to put him on the blocks, if we're going to give him some plays, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the minute restriction may be self-imposed because of conditioning. He may be asking for his own sub without having to have the coach pull his tail. Okay, so the big end game for the Dallas Mavericks is to win a championship.
Hey, now.
The last time they won a championship.
Hey, man, who that guy right there, man?
Our own
You got your thing?
Hey, man, who's that guy right there, man?
Yes.
Got your belt.
Yeah,
Look at that.
something like it. Undersized dunker is Allen Iverson. When you look at the one we caught it off the rim a couple times, the one on Marcus Camby, he was only about 6 feet, so he was truly an undersized dunker. So Allen Iverson really sticks out the most to me. The play that sticks out the most has to be Kevin Johnson over Hakeem. I remember exactly where I was in my living room as a kid when KJ dunked on Hakeem. I was like, oh my goodness, I could not believe that just happened. Hakeem,
Dream just like he jumped too late and then got his hand all in his face.
Now KJ said Dream jumped right on time. Okay, he jumped right on time to get right in that poster. And so for me, that play sticks out. The best undersized dunker to me is Allen Iverson, but the play that sticks out the most to me, Kevin Johnson over Akeem. Ooh-wee.
What about you, GP?
I got two. I think Nate Robinson was the best
Oh,
to
he was
me.
strong.
I think because he went in the dunk contest and did the things he did, then catching one off the rim, he caught one off the rim on a lot of guys. And then, you know, Spud Webb, he started it all off. You have to give it to Spud Webb. He started it all off with the dunk contest, winning that thing. And I think them two are the best undersized dunkers I ever seen. And I think Nate would take the cake for me.
All right, well, we know that our Dennis Scott is in Dallas because we spoke with him earlier, and we've got a treat for you guys. Dennis Scott had an opportunity to catch up with Sean Marion, so we're going to listen in to that conversation, then we'll be back.
All right, thanks, guys. Here with the champion, Sean Marion. Sean, you're in the front office. You've been around a guy like Dirk. When you look at Luke, people say it's not real on video. You see him daily. How good is Luka?
I mean, trust me, he's amazing. I think some of the stuff he's able to do on the floor right now at so young of age, I've never seen it before. And to have this much confidence he has right now, it's rare. It's really rare.
Is it rare for a guy that young to have the leadership where he's bringing guys up, playing well? For the season, a lot of us didn't have you guys in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's interesting how the whole dynamic of the free agency this summer and the trades took place and shook up the whole league. So with the shuffle and everybody got 2 stars on every team now. So now it's wide open. So you know, there's some top teams out there, but it's still wide open.
Speaking of wide open, you get a chance to come to the table tonight to hang out with Brian Anderson and Greg Anthony. What can the fans expect from you being an analyst at the table?
I mean, I'm with my UNLV running mate over there, so like it's gonna be fun. I mean, I'm gonna have a good time. No, that's what it's about. You know, I think you know, every athlete's perception of the game and how they see it. So we're gonna add a little flavor to it. That's all.
Appreciate you. Good luck tonight.
Thank you, baby.
All right, guys, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you,
The
Dennis
Matrix.
Scott. And
There he
thank you,
was. That's
Sean
my guy
Marion,
right there.
right?
That's
Of
my
course,
guy.
because he was on your championship team.
Yeah, man.
There's still somebody who's playing now that you played with in that 2011. J.J. Barrera is still hanging around and contributing. I want to ask you, though, what do you remember the most about that whole journey to the ring?
I think the thing that stands out to me the most about that 2011 team is just the overall camaraderie and the sacrifice. Everybody had to sacrifice something. Coming from DC, I was used to starting. I had to play behind Tyson. Sean was used to getting a certain amount of shots in Phoenix, and the next thing you know, he had to give that up. Karan was used to getting the ball in the fourth quarter. Everybody on our team sacrificed something so we could do something great, and that's what I remember. Peja Stojakovic, Jason Kidd, Dirk, everybody gave a little bit of something up so that we could win the title. And when we went out there and we followed our game plan, we had an excellent coaching staff. We talked about Dwayne Casey, Terry Stotts as assistants, of course, Rick Carlisle. But those guys, they really put us in position to do some great things. And we shocked a lot of people. That Dallas Mavericks team, no one thought we were going to win. We were actually the underdogs in every single series. They thought we were going to lose to Portland. Then they thought we were going to lose to Lakers. We swept them. Then they thought OKC was going to take us out. And, of course, Miami, the Heatles, they thought they were going to beat us too, and we were able to beat them in 6. So that team had to overcome a lot of hurdles.
It was fun to watch, by the way, just as an NBA fan. I remember that whole playoff series from the beginning to end. And it was just like you said. You were the underdogs, but I think the fans at home, sometimes we like to root for the underdog.
Why not?
So it was enjoyable.
Great story.
How about you, Gary? I know that you have lots of experience in this league. Do you remember that 2011 Dallas Mavericks team, and was there something that stuck out to you about them?
Well, it was just like our team when we beat Dallas in 06. They were a team that were underachieving, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden they made the run and they did what they did. Because when we got to the playoffs, a lot of people, we were the underdogs in every series too. But we clicked together and we got a young guy in Dwayne Wade who was only in his 3rd year. We put ourselves on his back, and he took it to that level, and we won. We started playing defense, and we knew our roles, just like what Brendan said. Everybody knew a role. I knew my role was to come in there and lock down the point guards, get the ball to people, and then when it was time for me to score and I needed to score, I scored. We had Shaq. We finally got him to bite into it. We wasn't going through you now, the big fella. You're older. This young kid has got it. We had Alonzo Mourning, who was playing defense to protect the rim. Posey, who was playing. Antoine Walker, who was shooting jump shots. And then we had Jason Williams. We had a lot of guys, too. And that's what we did. We just played our roles, and we rolled it out. And then we got down 2-0 against Dallas. And then we swept them four in a row and beat them on their home floor in Game 6. So it was the same way as Brendan them. You know, they came back and got them that year.
Right.
So it was one of them things.
I mean, I like to thank you, though, man. You guys helped us win a championship. You don't even know.
Why? How?
Hey, Game 6, first half, Dirk is struggling in Miami. Jason Terry walks over and says, don't nobody say nothing to him. I got it. He walks over there and he just starts talking to him about the finals that they lost to you guys.
Yeah.
Like, yo, we're not going through this again. We done been through, we saw what that summer was like for us.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, Dirk came out with a bunch of one-leg jumpers and it was over.
All night, huh?
It was over. So now, hey, I like to appreciate, I appreciate y'all getting Dirk's mind right for that second half in Game 6.
Yeah. Udonis got into him too. We went to Udonis doing our thing and said, Dirk is hurting us. I'm going to take care of Jason Terry. I'll guard him. And you guys take him out because it was them two. And then when we took Dirk out of the whole equation, it was just nothing they can do. We just started dominating the whole series. And he remembered that. And that's a good basketball player. When a good basketball player find out, you know, he listens to his teammate who was with him during that time and say, look, I'm not going to have this no more. Nobody going to stop me. And y'all went out and won the championship, and that was great.
And a great life lesson, too, for those at home. Adversity sometimes brings you great successes, right?
Yes, it does.
So
Adversity makes you who you are.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay, the warm-up will be back. We still have a lot. In case you notice, it's after 7. Extended play for the warm-up tonight. We're here till 8 p.m. Glad you guys are with us. The Clippers are in Dallas to take on the Mavs. Look at Pat Beverly.
Pat
You think he has up his sleeve?
Underside, he can't dunk.
He won't be on the list on Monday?
He won't be on that list.
Okay.
No, never.
All right, we'll be right back, guys.
And it's all money.
Yeah.
It's all money.
But in all seriousness, Kawhi, he tries to tone his game down a lot when Paul George is out there because he has to let him do his thing. But when Paul George isn't there, he's able to get to his spots. We call him Robot Jordan because he gets to his spots and he fades away similar to Mike. And so when you look at what he does, he's improved his game so much. He's one of these guys that when he first came into the league, I could have never envisioned this for him because he was a defensive player. This should be like every young player comes to the league like, man, if I work on my game, I can get a whole lot better because Kawhi was a defensive player. Now he's a guy who you can't stop his offense. And every year it seems like he added something more to his game. Came into the league, couldn't shoot. Added the three-point shot, then the mid-range jumper, then his handles improved, the post game improved. So right now there's so many different layers to his game. I don't really know how you stop him because he can score from all 3 levels and he's an excellent free throw shooter.
It's a great question, and we have a defensive specialist here to help us answer that question.
How do you shut down Robot Jordan?
Well, you can't shut down Robot Jordan right now because of the simple fact that you can't put your hands on him or nothing like that. See, and then teams do not double. You know, that's a problem for me. They do not double. I mean, I watched the game the other day with Giannis. They let a guy that was 3 or 4 inches shorter than him guard him one-on-one on 4 consecutive plays, and he scored on 4 consecutive plays. That's not going to happen. With this kid here, it's the same way. He's too strong, he's too skilled, and he's too good for you to just play him one-on-one. If you play him one-on-one, he's going to kill you. He got the pump fake, he got the ball, he's got the back to the basket, he's got the three-point shot, and he can drive you. And when he gets to the bucket, he gets fouled. He's got a mid-range game that's unreal, and that's just a problem for a guy like this if you don't double him.
Yep.
You do not double him or you don't make it bring the ball out, take the ball out of his hand, he's a problem. What people are doing now to Harden is taking the ball out of his hand, and he's being ineffective. They have to learn that with this kid right here, or he's going to keep averaging 36. Because I say it like you say, when Paul George comes back, I think they play buddy ball. You get it for this quarter, I get it for that quarter. It's just the same with Houston down there. You did it one time, I get it one time. You can't play basketball like that.
Right.
I think you have to play basketball like the Lakers do. When you get the ball in LeBron's hand, if you own, I'm on. If you're not, whatever. I'll get it to you when I can get it to you, but we're not going to take a span where you shoot all the balls all the time. We're going to shoot it together. And that's what I think what Paul George and Kawhi has to start doing when they get back healthy in the second part of the season so they can get a better rhythm. Because he is better by himself. And I think Paul George is better by himself. But they're going to have to get it to work out because they're going to want to win a championship. If that's going to happen, I think they're going to have to just go to Kawhi, Let Paul George be that guy who can sit there and you can be my second scorer, and then it'll happen like that.
But I think that's the role that Paul George is best suited for. We know Paul George is a stud. He's a dog. Well, I'm not saying that he's not an elite player in this league, but I think that it fits in. The team works better the way you said it. If Kawhi is Batman, Paul George is Robin, and then you let Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell fit in and do what they do.
Be the Joker.
Yeah, they they got to team up with Batman and Robin. Somebody can be Alfred.
Okay. Good one. That'll work.
But the way you get it done simply.
Catwoman.
What?
I mean Batwoman.
No, don't nobody want. Hey, man, you're killing my analogy, all right? GP, I had a good thing going. You stepped all over it.
The butler, he cleans up messes. Somebody like Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah, exactly. But Montrezl Harrell, like those guys, they do a great job inside, and they're part of the reason why you can't double Kawhi.
Yes.
Because if you double Kawhi, well, he's kicking out to a Lou Williams. He's kicking out to guys that can shoot the basketball. So if you have shooters out there, it makes it hard to double team, and that's why Kawhi is playing at a high level, because first of all, he's a great player. The spacing is great. Doc Rivers puts him in the perfect position to be successful as well.
Yep.
Can't wait to see it. This is going to be a good one tonight. It's the only game in the NBA, so you've got no choice but to stay
Hey, man, next time I start talking about Batman, you just get out my way.
Hey, is this a possible X Factor? Possible X Factor?
It's a possibility, man. That's a big body. Boban can come out there and have a big half or two.
And you can't guard him in the inside like this. Look. And he's got a nice touch. He got a nice touch.
He can act too. He was good in John Wick.
Yeah. Of course.
A warm up. We'll be right back.
You said that.
It's center court. Lock it in. Don't leave us. You can stick with us all night. The coverage will continue at 8 p.m. with the Auto Trader pregame show. That's immediately following us here on the warm-up. All right, we're so glad you guys are here. I'm Stephanie Reddy. Gary Payton's here. Brendan Haywood is here, and we've got something for you. Brendan Haywood is going to share with us his top 5 teams in the NBA.
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
I gotta compliment Stephanie on don't even read a prompter and hit that stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're the best.
That's right. That's
You're
right.
pretty good. You're good.
What a good teammate.
You're good.
And she's going to help me with these top 5 teams. We're going.
Yes.
So why they giving you a top 5?
Hey.
Well,
Where was I at?
You were in New
That's
York.
because you weren't at the meeting.
Out
Now,
of town.
that's why I get it. You want a top 5 show for the meeting?
My bad.
But now,
right,
GP,
Brendan.
this is my top 5 right now. Not my top 5 for the full season, but just right now. Who's playing
starting
well right now?
Okay, tell me, because I was
with
just
number 5.
Number 5, we have the Toronto Raptors. This team has won 4 games in a row. They're finally getting healthy. Spicy P, Pascal Siakam is back. He has played incredible basketball. They got Van Vliet back. I just love how this team plays. They have championship pedigree. Serge Ibaka filled in excellently when he had to start for Marc Gasol. And now that they have all their pieces back, I think they are a force to be reckoned with. And Pascal Siakam has proven that he is able to take the step up from role player to superstar. Done a great job this season.
I'm gonna see what your next 4 is.
Okay, all right.
Okay, let's see.
Ready?
Let's do that.
Number 4.
Number 4, the Denver Nuggets. This young team is probably the most slept-on team in the league. All they do is last year they finished number 2 in the standings. This year they're right back up there. They bounce between 2 and 3 all the time, but they have a good young team. They're stepping their game up right now. I think the Joker was a little out of shape to start the season off, but guess what? He's played his way into shape. As he's played better, this team has been better. And there's an X factor. There's a kid, Michael Porter Jr., who has been coming off the bench, giving them excellent production. This guy would have been a top 3 selection had he not hurt his back in college. So right now, I think as he's playing better, this team is also playing better. Watch out for the Denver Nuggets.
And they got a diamond in the rough with Porter. You know, when he slept that far. I think this team is really good because both of them are playing very well, him and the Joker, because they are hurt. Murray and a lot of other guys. They're going to have to make a decision on who they're going to trade and who they're going to get rid of, because these guys have a lot of pieces, but they are trying to put it together now.
All right, now, Brendan Haywood, your 3rd best team.
Number 3, help me out there, Steph. That's right, the Los Angeles Clippers. We know what this team is. They're a very dynamic team. They have Robot Jordan and Kawhi Leonard, but they also have that guy right there, Lou Williams. They have Paul George. They have so many guys that are two-way players, Montrezl Harrell. You have Pat Beverly. So I love the fact that this team can win in a bunch of different styles. They can beat you in an offensive game or a defensive game. The reason that I have them at number 3 and not a little higher up is because of continuity. Earlier in the season, we had the low management situation. Right now, Paul George a little banged up. When this team gets a chance to be together for about 15 to like 20 strong games, they could possibly surge up my list. But right now, I got them at number 3. You rolling with that, G?
I'm not going to ride with you on that one. I think that they should be flipped to number 2.
Right, we talking about right now?
Right now, I
right
think
now.
so, because when I looked at the Lakers yesterday, and when they played, and the energy that they came out with Boston, I don't like that energy. You know, when
did you see the other 9 games before that?
I did, but when AD came back, when you're playing against a top elite team like the Boston Celtics and thing, you have to win against them games. I get they're playing very well against under 500 teams, but when you play a Boston team that was been struggling and up and down, and then all of a sudden you bring your other superstar back and he doesn't get involved with the game, and then your star, LeBron, doesn't get involved with the game, it doesn't work for me. That's not a team that's really going to right now. I think they're going to be okay, but you can't do that to go in Boston and lay an egg like they did yesterday.
Well, I'm very curious to see who Brendan Haywood has chosen
listen,
for his number 2
I disagree
team.
with GP. We argue and we butt heads a lot, but number 2, I have the Los Angeles Lakers.
See, I would have flipped them.
Yeah,
I would have had them flip.
I can't flip them, GP, because guess what? The Lakers are the best team in the Western Conference right now. Before they lost that game against Boston,
record-wise,
before they lost that game against Boston, you're talking about they had won, I think, 9 or 10 games in a row. LeBron James, possibly the MVP. They've won games where LeBron James and Anthony Davis didn't play. They've won a bunch of games with Anthony Davis out. This team brings a lot of versatility, and I love their defense. Inside, they have bigs that are out there blocking shots. JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, unsung heroes for this team. They really anchor the paint. And we know what Anthony Davis does from a defensive standpoint as well. I like the offense because defense travels, and their defense right now is on the East Coast. And watch what they do to the Knicks in Brooklyn these next couple of nights.
Well, the Knicks is a team that's down anyway. They should beat this team. But I just say when they match up, these two teams match up, this team is already dominant because their players come to play. And I say that. And I can't get it when you have McGee and Dwight Howard. They're playing very well. But then when your superstar, when the defense breaks down, he's looking at people and looking at them bad. I can't get that. I don't do that. I wouldn't want that to happen. And I think the guy, Kawhi, is that one factor that's going to put him over the top because he plays very well against LeBron all the time. And I'm still saying LeBron to me is the best basketball player. I still say that. But I say this kid right here and their team is a little bit, I don't know how they're going to match up together if they get together in a series. But I think this team right here has the most upside because they got the most players that can score the basketball.
Check this out. You're doing a lot of talking. We're going to get together.
Hey, man, go on.
We're going to do
You always want to talk, man. I'm going to turn my back.
We're going to bring GP's list. We're going to do GP's list next week. This is my list in number 1.
It is. But before we get to that, I just have to tell you, because our crack stat guy, Justin, helped us out with this. To Gary's point, the Lakers are 0-5 against the Bucks, Clippers, Raptors, and Celtics.
Oh, I know.
This season.
I wasn't going to say that because I didn't want to talk and get his top 5 list messed
Just to keep us all honest
Hey, Justin, stop trying to make my list look bad.
Hey, Justin, I knew you was going to come with it.
Hey, listen, stop trying to confuse the fans with the stats.
This is Brendan Haywood's list.
Number 1, the Milwaukee Bucks. When you look at what they're doing, they have possibly the guy that I think is going to be the MVP in Giannis. They're one of the top teams in offensive and defensive efficiency. They have a lock on the Eastern Conference. I mean a lock. No one in the East is even close to these guys. I thought Philly might be able to compete, but I can't see it. And when you look at how Giannis is playing, he's playing even better than he played last year. I thought maybe the loss of Malcolm Brogdon might slow this team down. And Malcolm Brogdon is a great player. He's doing great in Indiana, but it hasn't slowed the Pacers down at all. Bledsoe has played well as of late. He's had a couple of really good games, but this team is all about the Greek Freak. They're all about Chris Middleton as well. He comes in, gives them a secondary score. But when you watch this team, offensively, the ball moves around a lot. Greek Freak gets guys involved. Defensively, everybody knows their role. And when you have a team that can be top 5 in offensive and defensive efficiency, you're looking at a very, very good ball club. And then they have a guy that's going to be the MVP again. You heard it here first, GP. Even you can't argue with this team number 1 right now.
I can't argue with this at all. I think this is the best basketball team in basketball. I think the reason they're the best team in basketball because they all know their role. That's the thing that they have. They know they have a superstar. And they know they have a second Robin. And the second Robin is playing very well in Middleton. He's playing. And then all the other guys come along. the Bledsoes, the Hills. They all
Jeremy
come,
Lamb.
the Lopezes, they come along. They come with the territory. Even they got the shooter.
Ilyasova?
Yeah, they got him playing the way they're supposed to play. And even when Greek the Freak doesn't play, they still play the same type of basketball, and they win basketball games without him. So this is a team that I think is well put together. They are all on the same page, and they know that they can win basketball games without their star. And when he comes, it just makes it even better because they start winning by 15, 16, 17 points.
Right.
And when they start blowing people out, they get rest. They bring the other guys in who can get there and show them what they're going to do for them in the playoffs if anybody gets in foul trouble.
Right.
And they beat everybody. Right. They don't just beat the under 500. They beat the plus 500s. So this is a basketball team that I think is going to be really high and difficult to beat. And I think they got a good chance to win the championship.
But basically, overall, you like my list. You basically would just
I love your
flip-flop-
list.
I love your list.
You just
I'll just flip-flop these two right now. I would. That's all I would. It's a great list because these are the top five. The Heat, I think, should be in here somewhere. They could be probably be here because they're playing very good basketball too. That young team,
very impressive.
19-1 at home.
Best
I cannot tell them that they shouldn't be here.
But the Heat gonna have to do better on the road. That young team struggles on the road.
Yeah, they do.
When they play better on the road, I get them in my top five. But we'll do GP's list next week.
Okay,
Yes.
We'll do
I got
GP's
it.
list next
It
week.
is the B list, top
B
5
list.
teams.
That's right.
We gonna
my
have
goodness.
a glove list.
Look at the monitor. Thank you,
Vanna
guys.
Reddy, I see you,
Hey,
Vanna.
Vanna White had a long career and it's still going.
And she's
so
still doing her
kudos
thing.
to that. And she's hosting now too, by the way.
Yeah.
Does that make me Pat Sajak?
No, absolutely not.
Man, you are so disrespectful.
Lou Williams coming off the bench.
I'm making sure
getting
you don't get no
buckets.
list next
Last game, he had 32 points.
We're going to do the Haywood list one more game.
Developing relationships with people, especially the players that became the face of the league. What was that experience like for you today?
It was a great experience because you had a lot of great speakers that come up there, and especially with that Magic one. Magic really was talking about he had an angel because what David Stern did for him when he announced that he had HIV. When he had HIV. So it was like he said he saved his life. And he saved millions of lives by letting him play in the All-Star game, by letting him play in the Olympics. And when the Olympics, a lot of people over in different countries didn't want to play with Magic, as he said it. But when the Magic came around and they found out that he was not a threat to them, they understood, and then they started thinking about HIV. And who started that? David Stern, because he's the one who called Magic and put him into that situation. And there was a lot of great speakers there. There was a lot of great people there. I mean, people that you haven't seen. Jordan was there, Akeem, Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, everybody, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there. So it was a lot of people there, even the Lakers and the Knicks. They canceled practice to be there.
That's great.
All of we had Carlisle was there. You know, he was coming back and then had to fly back. A lot of us we learned a lot from David Stern. David Stern took the NBA in the 80s from almost tanking to what it is now. We didn't know nothing about overseas basketball. He was paying $3,000 a month to send video over there about our NBA and did that thing. When he took it over, it was taken down, and then he groomed Granick. He groomed Adam Silver. He groomed a lot of people, and he touched a lot of people's lives, and he touched our lives. When I went up there, he announced my name, and we took a picture of it and things like that, and called me into his office and said he wanted me to do the challenge skills. That was the first one, me and Jason Kidd, because we were that Oakland native stuff, and he wanted us to do it. Yes, we had to go and do that because that was like our grandfather.
Yeah.
And that was it. And to see so many people there today was really, really a big thing, and give his respect, and we respected him that way.
That's amazing. I know that it was very emotional because of all the speakers and their personal stories that they shared. Was there one moment that for you kind of got you to look inward and think, okay, that's the reason why he's so revered?
All of them did, you know, and especially when Magic came and Pat Riley got up there and spoke his. Adam started it off, and Adam reminded us every little word that David Stern said. He always had a catch to it, but he was strong with it. He was you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He didn't say it the way people, he said it another way.
Yeah.
But we knew that he was that guy. You know, he was that man that took over in 1984 and then just turned our whole basketball around. He's going to be the greatest commissioner ever to be a commissioner because of all of us knew that. He was strong. When he called you in his office, you knew it was going to be something happening. You know, and then when he started learning how to text and email people and you get emails from him, you know, you knew that David Stern, we had to open it, and
Right.
that opened it up quick. So, you know, just sitting there and just seeing all the guys who respected him and was in that auditorium today was amazing. You know, I got back. You know, they had a dinner tonight that I wish I could have went to, but you know, I wanted to get back. But you know, all them guys are going to be around
Right.
there and be around and celebrate his thing. And Adam hooked it up. And it was just Dolan. He fronted the bill for everything
Wow.
there. So, you know, this is how much respect that
Yeah.
David Stern had, and a great man that led a great organization, and it's getting bigger and bigger.
The legacy lives on, the expansion years, the global entry. The entire world looks at the NBA now. Our
Even
games
NBA
are
cares.
everywhere.
Even NBA cares. He
that
started
initiative.
all of that.
That's
We
right.
had a great speaker talked about how he started NBA cares and made it a different made a difference with a lot of people around the world, bringing back a lot of community stuff. And this is what he started. He started that. Him, Adam Silver, and them guys. They started that.
That's right. The WNBA and the D League, which is now the G League, all because of David Stern. The warm-up will continue. As we've chronicled, there is one game in the NBA tonight. The Clippers are on the road to take on the Dallas Mavericks, and there he is. What do you call him, Brendan?
Robot Jordan.
Kawhi Leonard. Last 5 games, over 30 points. He's averaging 36.
Man, y'all can't slow down Robo Jordan.
We'll be right back. Brought to you by Ford. No zinger, no problem. Mavericks with and without Porzingis. You can see with is on the left-hand side, without is on the right. I wouldn't read too much into those numbers because it's still going to take them a bit to get acclimated, remember. But we're excited to see the end result when they all get going. And in fact, I know someone who is not excited to see the results. Head coach Doc Rivers, he speaks on the return of Porzingis.
It just adds another really, really good player on their basketball team, and a range shooting 5 or 4, whichever position he's playing at. He has the ability to pose. He's terrific on the glass over your back because of his length. So you have to prepare for all that. And the Luka Porzingis combination in pick and rolls is just a lethal combination. And so you have to really be prepared for that.
All right, you have to really be prepared for that. That's one thing, right? But it's more than just one prong. I mean, Porzingis can do a lot, so can Luka. So now when you put these two together, it's almost a recipe for disaster if you're the opponent.
Yeah, definitely. When you put these two together, you have something special. It's still a work in progress.
Right.
And right now, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to mix these two together. You see the pick and roll. That is something they can obviously do all game long. Luka's great in the pick and roll, and Porzingis is very athletic. You see the no-look pass here frees up Porzingis to go down the lane. Kennard obviously in the wrong spot because the no-look froze him. Great pick set by Porzingis. Now right here, you have a screen that's going to be set. Porzingis is going to go to the corner. What I love is that he doesn't just stand there because Porzingis is only shooting about 34% from 3. When Luka drives to the basket, he follows him, goes right down the baseline, and is able to get a dunk. This is my favorite play, though. This is the play I think the Dallas Mavericks should use a lot to get Porzingis open. He's struggling to post up, so what do? Get him posted up on the move. They used to run this play for Dirk all the time. Coming off this little pin down, goes right in the lane and uses his size. He's 7'2", ladies and gentlemen. No one can affect his jump shot. And once again, you have Luka being the excellent big point guard he is, getting down the lane, creating a problem. But Porzingis doesn't stand behind the three-point line, doesn't camp out up there, cuts to the open space on the court. And if you cut to the open area, Luka will always find you. So when I look at these two, I think two of the key things they need to do, they need to put these guys in the screen and roll more often. and let those guys play off of that because Luka's going to make the right decision. I also want them to post up Porzingis, but not in the traditional way where he just posts up on the block where guys can fight him out and push him off the block. Post him on the move. Get in some post-ups where he's in the move. He catches the ball in that mid-post area, and he can just catch, turn, and shoot. I don't like the fact that he's taking 6 threes a game. Maybe cut that number down. And I want to be able to use him in different areas where you can use his athleticism. He is more than just a 7'2" spot-up jump shooter. This guy can move well. He's 7'2". He's athletic. You saw those dunks he had at the rim, GP. He is an athlete. So I want to get his full athleticism on display, and they have to get it to where that Porzingis can function when Luka's out there. Because if you look at the numbers, when Luka had a missed time in December, Porzingis is averaging about 22 points and 13 rebounds per game. Then Luka came back and his numbers went back down. He only averaging 17 on the season. So they have to find a way to get Luka back up into the 20s so they can get the most out of his game.
Well, I don't like him when they're in a pick and roll too much because then that means that you're gonna get Porzingis to start picking out, and you don't want him to shoot threes like that. As you've seen all of the video that you described, he's always on the move when Luka's handling the ball because Luka breaks down people. You see how this is. When Luka breaks down guys, he draws so much attention that this guy can always cut in. He's a great cutter. Right. He's a great cutter. And when he cuts and he sees when Luka is doing things and people, and you know nowadays, defenses are now looking at the ball a lot. Right. They look at the ball a lot. So they lose the sight of their men. Mm-hmm. So that's why he's cutting so much and he's getting so many dunks. And then the play that you described when they made a cut and went into the post, get him with the ball on the move and that he can jump over people because he's so big. You don't have to get him in the post up and you don't have to get him. If you keep him moving, he's going to be really effective. I don't want him in the pick and roll because then he's not going to start picking and then big men are going to start chuckling, hitting him, and he's going to start popping. Keep him on the opposite side. Let Luka attack. Get him, hit him, and let him keep cutting. And I think he's being more effective.
I think you got to involve him in the pick and roll. These are your 2 best players. Mm-hmm. You have to teach your 2 best players how to play well together. If you're Dallas, it's about more than just this year. You're building a foundation moving forward. Your 2 best players are going to have to be able to play together because I've run that playbook that Coach Carlisle has, and when guys like Jason Terry and Dirk were playing well together, the playbook, there's so many plays where those guys can come off pin downs and do things and take advantage of the unique skill sets that they have. So I think the playbook works better if these 2 guys can get on the same page.
But he's not that type of basketball player, Brendan. So I understand what you're saying. He's not like an AD. You can't play him in a pick and roll with him like him and LeBron does. Because if AD gets in the pick and roll, he can put his back to the basket and he turns over and shoots over. Porzingis does not do that. So we won't put him in a situation where he's gonna not be successful. So don't put him into that. I get it. You're gonna have to find other ways to get him in the thing because he's not like an AD. He does not play that way, the type of basketball. He's not strong in a pick and roll. I just don't see him being that strong in a pick and roll. You have to put him in something else that's going to make him be successful.
I think you both have really good points because you're saying he's not there yet, but you're saying long term, you got to get there.
Got to get him there.
So practice and reps is the way to do it.
And get him strong.
And when he rolls down that lane, he can still finish strong, GP. Yeah, he finished that thing. Yeah.
The warm-up will continue. Take a look at this, Seth Curry. We haven't talked about the other people on this team. We've only mentioned Kristaps and Luka, but Seth Curry is coming off of a 16-point performance last game. So lots of contributors for this Dallas Mavericks team. We'll see how it goes.
Whole family full of shooters in the Curry family.
For real. Center Court Trivia, make sure you get involved. It's a lot of fun. Remember I told you lock it in right here on NBA TV all night long for the only game in the NBA tonight. Clippers, Mavericks. You can win prizes. I think it's the jerseys right there. Clippers, Mavs jerseys up for grabs, but you have to know what you're talking about.
Can we win it?
And they would appreciate if you wouldn't cheat, by the way. Stop Googling.
Can we get on?
No, you're eliminated. You're not available to participate. Doc Rivers, we've talked to him a little bit earlier. We showed him speaking. Well, we're going to show you now what he told his team on Martin Luther King Day. Let's listen.
Yeah, I always tell people, for me, I had never heard of Martin Luther King until the day he was assassinated. I was in 3rd grade. I was in 3rd grade. And, I came home and my dad was crying. My dad was a police officer. My dad never cried. And I didn't know what was going on, And my mom was crying, my grandfather, everybody was crying. I didn't know what was going on. And they're all sitting in front of the TV. LA's on fire, Chicago's on, the rioting was going on. And I was just a clueless third grader. And that opened my eyes up from that point on, I've been through a lot of racism. Chicago is probably the most segregated city, it may still be, that you've ever lived in. The blacks lived over here, the whites lived over here, Polish lived over here. Everybody had their own segment, and you went in one of those, you had to deal with it, so you grew up that way, which is not the greatest way to grow up, obviously, and you go through a lot of stuff. Each generation has to deal with their own stuff, Martin Luther King's generation couldn't get on the bus, couldn't drink out of the same fountain, couldn't do anything, each one has gotten better, but we have a long way to go. All of a sudden, racism has become cool again. There's people with racist views, they've become comfortable again and vocal, and that ain't good for you guys, or us, or me either, but I'm more talking for the young people. And so what King's generation did is they got involved. They did something. And so that's gonna be for your generation. Y'all cannot allow that to grow. You can't, all right? For your kids, you just can't allow that to grow. And you can deal with that and do that in any way you want to, but I'm telling you, that has to stop, and y'all have to be a part of it, not meaning athletes, just youth, young people, all right? That's my Martin Luther King story for the day. Let's go, baby, let's bring it in.
Thank you to Clippers.com for sharing that with us. That was terrific. He's one of those people in the league who, when he speaks, you listen, along with Popovich, Steve Kerr. They're always right there to point out the errors of our ways. All right, this is the end of the warm-up. We thank you for Brendan Haywood, Gary Payton. I'm Stephanie Reddy. Stay tuned. Remember, Center Court is next. Casey Stern is hosting. He's got Candace Parker, Grant Hill, and the great Isaiah Thomas. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
The legend.